It's out. Flip back to 2-1 real quick. What was inductive reasoning? It was like our very first word that we defined in 2-1. Our second word. Good. Inductive reasoning uses patterns to make conjectures. So as we do this, inductive reasoning uses patterns. So we're going to throw patterns there. You don't get any. Sorry. My bad. I'm the worst. Alright, inductive reasoning uses patterns. So for example, Miss Morel. Good morning. How do you think tomorrow Miss Morel's going to wear her hair? What? Well, how do you know? Because it's a pattern. Is it a rule somewhere in the universe that says you have to wear your hair up in a pony? Nope. It's not a rule. It's just something I do. So, Miss Morel wears her hair up. Every day. That's something that we can probably assume at this point. We're 3 weeks into school. Most days, or so far every day, I've worn my hair up. So you could probably assume that generally speaking, I'll wear my hair up every day. Okay, it's not a rule. It's not written somewhere that we have to do it. It's just a pattern. Okay, and that's our inductive reasoning. That starts with that prefix in. Now we have deductive reasoning. Starts with that prefix D. It's a little bit different. Inductive, deductive. All right, Joey, whatever you're doing, pause that for a moment. All right, deductive reasoning is going to use rules, laws, or properties. Deductive reasoning uses rules, laws, or properties. So for example, if you want to go to the bathroom in this class, what do you have to do? What's the rule? You have to make a pass. So if you want to go to the bathroom, you must make a pass. And that's a school rule, saying that if you want to go use the restroom, you need to make a pass in that e-hall pass. All right, how are we doing? Making sense so far? So one's just based on patterns, and then one's based on an actual rule, or a law, or a property. So today we're going to focus on that deductive reasoning. We're going to focus on laws. There's 2 laws we're going to learn. There's a law of detachment, and then there's something called law of syllogism. Okay. So first we're going to talk about this law of detachment. All right, in law of detachment, if we know that we know that A leads to B, And we know that A happened already. So for example, if you know that a B in this class is somewhere between like 82% and 87%, and you come into class and you say, what did I get on my test? I say you got an 86%. That happened. What can you assume now? That you got a B, right? So when we know that A happened, we can conclude that B will happen, or that B already even happened. So I'm going to color code this. If you'd like to color code it, I'm going to use yellow and orange. You can use the same colors either with colored pencils, or you can use highlighters. If you want to use two colors, you can. It's okay if you don't use blue and orange. I don't recommend using purple. Purple is not working out very well. It's really dark. All right, so A leads to B. So if I know that A leads to B, and we know that A happened, so I'm matching my colors for A here. So if you're using other colors, match your A colors, and then match your B colors. We can conclude B will happen. Okay, so this is kind of like a before and after. If we know the before happens, we can assume that the after is going to happen. All right, so we have two examples here where you have to decide if this is a valid conclusion or invalid. Valid means, yep, we can say that. It's true. Invalid means we cannot say that. Okay? It's not quite true. So, as we start, here's our first one. It says, if Miss Morel wakes up late, then she is cranky. Abdi notices Miss Morel is cranky, so he assumes she woke up late. So we have to decide, is that the correct assumption that Miss Morel woke up late based on the information we're given? Got it. So let's start off with the first if-then statement. If Miss Morel wakes up late, so waking up late leads to being cranky. Okay, so late is my A. It's my first color, so whatever color you use for that first part here. And then cranky is my second part, so whatever you used for B. So if I wake up late and I get to school, usually I'm a little cranky at the beginning of school. Okay. However, did I tell Abdi, hey, I woke up late today? No, what did Abdi realize? That was cranky. I'm starting here. So if I start here and I go to being late, can I work my way backwards? If I'm cranky, does that mean it must be because I woke up late? No. So we can't work backwards. This won't work. So no backwards direction. Okay, just because I'm cranky doesn't mean it was because I'm late. If I was late, yes, then for sure I'm cranky. But I think it could be cranky for lots of reasons. So this one is invalid because we can't go backwards. It does not work. We can't come up with that. It's possible it's because I woke up late. But why else might I be cranky? I dropped my breakfast. Maybe. That was really creative. Maybe I dropped my breakfast. Maybe I'm hungry, right? Anyone get hangry in this classroom? I'm a big component of hangriness, okay? So invalid, maybe I'm hungry. Maybe someone yelled at me this morning. Maybe the traffic was really bad. Okay, maybe my husband is just being annoying. I don't know. Or maybe we're just having one of those days, right? So invalid. I'm going to say I might be hungry, or she might be hungry. But our big thing there is going to say that it's invalid. That would be our answer for that one. It's invalid. All right, for the second one, it says if two angles are vertical, then they are congruent. Destiny notices angle A and B are vertical, so she assumes angle A is congruent to angle B. So first off, what is the if-then statement? If, what's the hypothesis? Yeah, good, Cameron. If two angles are vertical, so we're starting with vertical angles, then what can we say? They're congruent, yeah. So we're starting with vertical, and we're ending with that idea of congruent. So based on what Destiny saw that the angles are vertical, so then she assumes they're congruent. So are we going in the forward direction here, or are we going backwards direction? Yeah, forwards. We started with the vertical, and now they're congruent, and Destiny noticed they're vertical. So can we say they're congruent? Yep, for sure. So this would be valid. Because in this one, we're starting at that first spot. Start here, and then we go to the next one. I don't know if that's going to make sense later, but we'll pretend it does. All right, for this next one, you might need to share some highlighters or colored pencils with a neighbor. You need one more color. I'm going to add in some pink. All right, next up we have this law of syllogism. Syllogism is kind of a goofy word. Up to your mom, put away your phone, bro. All right, law of syllogism. It's not even listening. There we go. Thank you. All right, law of syllogism. Syllogism. Goofy word, syllogism. All right, this one is kind of like our story. This one is similar to the give a mouse a cookie. Okay? It's a story that leads us from one thing to the next, and then that next thing leads us to another thing. So we're going to be given if M, then N, period. That's our first sentence. If M leads to N, and then our second sentence is if N leads then P, okay, so if we give a mouse a cookie, they're going to want milk. Then if you give the mouse milk, they're going to want a straw. Okay, M leads to N, but then N leads to P. If I want to make this a shorter story, and I just want to go beginning to end, what can I conclude? What would be my starting point? If the first part, you give a mouse cookie, then what's my ending page going to be? Then the mouse will want, yeah, a haircut, if you stick up a couple, yeah. So in this case, if M leads to N, N leads to P, what will M eventually lead to? P. It's kind of like the beginning page to the last page. Eventually we get there, we're going to skip the middle stuff. So if you want to color code this, you can. I'm going to do M in yellow. I'm going to do N in orange. So M, then N. But now here it picks up at N again, so I want that same color. So if you're using different colors here, use orange again, or the same color for N in both spots. So if yellow to orange, orange to, I'm going to do pink for P. Then what we can end up doing, because this middle part matches, it's like we're picking up right where we left off, we can actually just go back and say from the beginning M to the ending P. So try and match your colors here with whatever you used. M's should be the same color here. P's should be the same color here. All right, Mr. Kwan was my co-teacher I had last year. He's working out at Discovery now, so if you have any siblings at Discovery, you can go say hi to him sometime. If you know who he is. If you don't know who he is, he was just a teacher I was working with last year. Okay. It says if Mr. Kwan has a good day at school, then he will give his cat a treat. If Mr. Kwan's cat has a treat, then they will be pumped. Okay, the cat will be pumped, is what we mean by they. All right. He had a cat named Cosmo. It's black. It has yellow eyes. Pretty cute. All right, so what's my starting position? If, good, Mr. Kwan has a good day. I'm going to just highlight this one. So if Mr. Kwan has a good day at school, that will lead to his cat getting a treat. All right, now the next sentence starts with if Mr. Kwan's cat has a treat. So should that be one of the colors we've done already? Yeah, we already talked about his cat getting a treat. What color was that? The first one or the second one? The second one. So whatever color you just used, pick up that color and do it again. Then they will be pumped. You kind of have a lot to write in this little space. So if you want to write it out real quick with me, I'm going to just really quickly abbreviate this. Mr. Kwan has a good day. Good day leads to his cat getting a treat. And what does his treat lead to? Being pumped, right? So kind of the idea here is if we can write it in that way where everything is connected, it's leading to each other, we can skip this middle part. We can start at the beginning and go to the end. So if I write this as a new conclusion, I would say if, what's the beginning of the story? Good. If Mr. Kwan has a good day at school, I'm just going to say if Mr. Kwan has a good day because I don't want to write a lot because I'm running out of space. If Mr. Kwan has a good day, so that's the first part. How will this story end? What will happen by the end of the day? The cat's going to be pumped. Then his cat will be pumped. Or the cat will be happy, but I don't know. I used pumped last year when I did this. No, that doesn't quite make sense to us, right? If we just read that final story, if Mr. Kwan has a good day, his cat's going to be super happy. And we're like, okay, that's weird. His cat's happy for him for having a good day. We missed the part, though. What happened in the middle? Why is his cat happy? Because he got a treat. Okay? If you want to color code, you can. The first part, whatever you had for the first color, mine was yellow. If Mr. Kwan has a good day. And then we're going to jump to that last color. Then his cat will be pumped. So we're skipping over the orange part. All right, one more example, and then we are done with notes for this first half of chapter 2. All right, it says, if you study for the test, you will receive a high grade. If you do the practice assignments, then you will receive a high grade. All right, so starting off with our first hypothesis, you study for the test. And what does that lead to? Receiving a high grade, yep. All right, in our next sentence, it starts with, if you do the practice assignments. So is that a color that we've done yet? You do the practice assignments. We haven't said anything about that in the last sentence, so that has to be a different color. Then you receive a high grade. That one we did. That was the same conclusion as before, so we can use the same color that we used in the second half. To me, this really helps to draw it out visually. For some of you, you probably are like, you can decide already just by looking at it. Some of you with the colors, you're great. These colors to me get really like, I don't know, I just see colors. Sometimes colors really help. This one, it doesn't help me as much, but for some people it does. What helps me is to like make a flow chart like this. All right, so what's the first thing that we do? Study for a test. And then what happens after we study for the test? We get a high grade. Can we pick up the story from this high grade, that the high grade will lead to something else? Maybe. Does it tell us if you get a high grade, then this is going to happen? No. What's the second story part, or the second sentence telling us? First one is if you study for the test, you get a high grade. Second part is if you do the practice, you get a high grade. They're both leading to this high grade. So is there a middle part that I can skip over because A goes to B, B goes to C, so we can just jump? No, this one, they just both lead to high grades, but they're two separate things. One is studying for a test, one is practicing. They both lead to a high grade, but they don't have that connection. We can't jump from, if you study for a test, then you do your practice. Not necessarily. So this one, we can't come up with a valid conclusion. So we'd say no valid conclusion, meaning there's not anything we can say past what's already been said. The way that it's written is the best way we can write it. We can't come up with any easier way of saying it. There's no more that we can say. But I can say that we can say no more like 17 more times because I'm really good at that. All right, the practice today does feel a little longer because it's going to be deciding which law you're using. And then some of them are going to be, they're like longer sentences. So if you need help on this, please, 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 please ask. If you are not going to the homecoming game tomorrow, so tomorrow when you come to school, remember,